Wizards is getting better and better with precons. The last few years worth of precons, from Edge of Eternities to Duskmourn to Bloomburrow, all stand the test of time as some of the greatest they've ever created. So where do Lorwyn Eclipsed precons stand? And is Blight Curse another Jund banger next to World Shaper? Somebody at Wizards must really love this color combination. So let's break down the concept, the new commanders, the new cards, and see if we can elevate it to greatest of all time status with just a 10 card upgrade. The Blight Curse deck is a -1/-1 counters deck at its core, which from a precon we haven't seen before. We have seen this archetype on commanders like Hepatra and the Scorpion God, all leaning this way, but never in Jund colors as a unifying legend to pull it all together and have the best cards from both decks under one list. Now we have two legends that do that, and both of them are fantastic in their own right. We'll do a deep dive on them later, but they're what you'd expect from precon commanders, a lot of text that does exactly what you want them to do under this theme. And I have to shout out the reprint inclusions in this list first and foremost. When I saw the theme, I immediately started pulling out pieces from an old Hepatra brew I had, getting them ready for it, only to see that just about the full deck was in the reveal. All of the cards that I had pulled were in here, and I mean all of them, except for 2 or 3 that are nice to have but not necessary cards. Everything that was on my wish list for this brew ended up making it into the default list. That's good deck building right there. And in gameplay, this deck does what you want it to do. It puts -1/-1 counters on stuff, both yours and your opponent's, to control the flow of the game and the board state while also getting you additional value. Extra lands into play, more bodies, cards drawn, or stealing your opponent's creatures. Nothing in this deck can be written off as collateral damage. It's all intentional, and that's a good feeling. And the new cards in the list, with the exception of one in particular, are cool but not necessary new cards that do things and certainly fit into a wider variety of decks and archetypes than the new cards in Dance of the Elements. It's nice to see design space explored that runs perpendicular to a deck's theme rather than parallel to it. As for glaring weaknesses with the deck, I'm a bit disappointed with the nuts and bolts in the list. Card draw, removal, ramp choices, they're all pretty baffling. There are 3 mana dorks in the deck, which are either just good or thematically fitting, but there are no other ramp spells in this green deck. That's not backbreaking since the deck's curve is very smooth, but it's just a head scratcher. And the card draw options in the deck? What are they thinking? Yes, one of your commanders has card draw stapled to it, but all of the other card draw options in the deck are mediocre. There's no ongoing card draw outside of Massacre Girl or Auntie, despite lots of options existing. We can and will solve that in our upgrade, but out of the box, I'm not a fan of some of the inclusions in this category. Does that hurt the grade of this precon? No, because I'm still calling this an S-Tier Precon. There's 2 back-to-back Jund precons, this and World Shaper, that join the pantheon of GOAT precons, and it receives my recommendation to go out and get it right now. Out of the box, it holds its own against the likes of Endless Punishment and Peace Offering, and being that it also includes some infinite combos, it is right up there with the best of them. Good to play, good to have, good to upgrade. Way to go, Wizards. Let's dig a little deeper on our new commanders, Auntie and the Reaper King No More. Poor guy must have been dethroned. I wonder who got his crown. Now, both of these commanders love -1/-1 counters, unsurprisingly for the deck's theme, but Auntie doesn't care who you place these counters on, she just wants them to get on there. You'll benefit from blighting your own creatures, Lorwyn Eclipse's new mechanic, for having a creature's controller choose where the -1/-1 counters go by drawing cards. And you'll drain opponents when their creatures get -1/-1 counters, no matter how they were put on or who put them there. This is just a straight up utility commander with card draw and additional non-combat damage pressure in the command zone. There are going to be games where Auntie trigger either wins you the game or loses you the game because there's no once per turn clause in there and there's no may clause on the draw trigger. I wouldn't say Auntie does anything too new or exciting, but she is a very solid utility commander that brings the theme under 3 colors, finally, and will give you effects you need in the command zone. The Reaper, on the other hand, is exactly something we've seen before, but now in the command zone. On enters, you get to toss around 2 -1/-1 counters, but you get to steal an opponent's creature that dies with a -1/-1 counter on it once per turn. That's a huge effect, and unfortunately, a nightmare on webcam. But for those of you that just experienced Deja Vu, this is Necroskitter's ability with a limit on it. You know, Necroskitter that is reprinted in this deck, and was previously the most expensive piece of any -1/-1 counter based deck? Yeah, it's here, and now it's in the command zone. I personally believe that the Reaper is a bit better than Auntie, but both are banger commanders. The Reaper gets you an immediate enters effect that can instantly steal the best 1 toughness creature in play, like an opponent's Esper Sentinel or Birds of Paradise. Auntie requires you to have your engine for counter generation online. That's not hard in this deck, trust me, so it's not a massive mark against her. Either legend can go at the helm with the other in the 99, and your deck's effectiveness wouldn't change a bit. Let's address some of the infinite combos in the deck. A new cornerstone of the modern generation of precons is that they include some kind of infinite combo or loop in them, and Blight Curse isn't any different. See, the deck contains Flourishing Defenses, an effect that makes you a 1/1 creature for putting a -1/-1 counter on your stuff, and Hapatra that makes you a 1/1 Death Touch Snake the same way. The deck also contains Blowfly Infestation. When a creature dies with a -1/-1 counter on it, you put a -1/-1 counter on something else. So with Blowfly and either effect in play, you simply need to place a -1/-1 counter on a creature and have it die, and you enter a loop where you create a 1/1 creature, then put a -1/-1 counter on that creature, creating a new creature, then having the death trigger from Blowfly put the -1/-1 counter on the new 1/1. This nets you infinite -1/-1 counters, infinite creature enters triggers, and infinite dies triggers. You can stop the loop at any time by pointing the Blowfly trigger at something else. If we add in another card to the mix, we get additional effects. Auntie with this in play gets us to draw our entire library, which, let me check, is very good. Hapatra and Flourishing Defenses in play makes us infinite 1/1 Death Touch Snakes to be able to take down the whole table through combat. And the new Grave Venerations, printed for the first time in this deck, drains your opponents infinitely, which can also be done with any Aristocrat effect, but this one is packed into the list by default. So while it might be a 3 or 4 card combo to pull off, the deck does in fact have a way to win the game without requiring combat damage, something that gives it a massive boost in overall precon rankings. But the question would be, how do we take the deck to the next level? How do we upgrade it with just 10 cards to make it swing even harder? Either of the commanders would let you do this at the lead of the deck. Let your gut tell you how you feel on any specific day. Auntie wants you to be putting counters on your own creatures, where the Reaper wants you to be pointing them elsewhere. Even with the Reaper in the lead, you're going to be putting counters on your own stuff, so why not benefit from it? Now, first upgrade is redundancy. Nest of Scarabs does the same thing Flourishing Defenses does. If we want the combo more consistently, this is the first add to the deck. In the same vein, Obelisk Spider is an extra win con piece of this combo and drains opponents when you put a -1/-1 counter on stuff. It's a crucial way to make this eventual combo a game ender on the spot and should instantly be added to the deck. Persistent Constrictor from Duskmourn's Precons makes a good add to the deck as well, if not for combo purposes, for inevitability purposes. All of those trigger once per turn effects love this guy, since he ensures this is happening on each opponent's upkeep. Definitely a good get. But otherwise, all of my other changes are to the deck's nuts and bolts like ramp, card draw, and removal. I would remove the 3 bounce lands of Gruul Turf, Golgari Rotfarm, and Rakdos Carnarium in favor of adding in Karn's Bastion, an extra forest, and Fabled Passage. I really want to get some kind of fetch land in this list, even just Fabled Passage, as the new card Dreadtiller can be added into your loops with a Fabled Passage to help you grab all of your basic lands from your deck to the battlefield. You can add in more fetches if you're really amping up the mana base, but I'd include at least Fabled Passage to enable this effect. It also helps ensure you're reaching your 3 colors, as we aren't really adding in an additional ramp to the deck. The curve is just so smooth that even in green, we really don't need it. And I mentioned my disappointment at the card draw in the deck. Like, why do we need Burning Curiosity, Harmonize, and Hoarder's Greed when there are better options that aren't paying mana or life or temporary? I've axed them all in favor of the best card draw for this archetype in Generous Patron. The Patron is, hands down, the best card draw you can include in this deck. This one card has turned any Hapatra deck into a card draw machine, and while it doesn't work with Blight, it does work with all of your other -1/-1 counter placing effects. The Patron draws you 2 cards when the Reaper enters, for instance, and turns almost every other effect in your deck into cantrips. It is a must-have for this list. Imagine having the Patron and an Archfiend of Ifnir in play, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Absolutely crazy good. Followed by Hollow Merc Siege. Choosing the Sultai mode on this is an extra card drawn each turn, potentially even on opponent's turns, all for just 2 mana. I definitely like this for the Auntie Ool-led brew, since it's just on creatures you control drawing you cards, not your opponent's creatures. But we're doing a lot of that as well, through blighting and other effects. Ongoing card draw just does not get cheaper than 2 mana. I also want to up the removal a little bit, with some more targeted counter-placing effects. Adding in Splendid Agony or Grim Affliction lets us put counters on anything, sometimes even our own stuff. And Beast Within lets us target any permanent type, something the deck is lacking to get rid of, like artifacts or enchantments, by focusing almost too heavily on creature removal. So what are we cutting from the deck to make room for all of this? I mentioned the lands and bad cards getting cut, but what else gets the boot? Liliana Deathwielder is a great first-time reprint, but it's 7 mana to either place a single counter on a creature or destroy a creature you've already shrunk. This Liliana was from an intro deck, so it's no wonder why she's pretty bad, but we just don't need a 7 mana way to place a single counter on a creature. I also don't think we need Ferrophore Young Yu in the list either. Sure, it's bound to get you a boatload of creatures on enters, but it's basically the -1/-1 version of Avenger of Zendikar. If we had more synergies to get this ability over and over again, I'd be more inclined to keep him, but he'll find a home in some other brews that blink or use other counters. Good old Gravy Train gets the cut too, since he's really not doing anything in the deck that plays into our theme or synergies. Making us more 2/2 bodies is always just okay, but he doesn't do any counters and doesn't care about counters, so let's give him the axe. Binding the Old Gods somehow always finds its way into any deck with black and green that Wizards put together, and it's always disappointing. Sure, it's got everything you want on it on a card, removal, ramp, and like some death touch, but at 4 mana and across multiple turns, we should be running some actually good removal in the deck. And lastly, and maybe most controversially, I want to cut Chimmel the Inner Sun. I know a lot of folks are happy and surprised to see a big splashy mythic like this printed in a precon, and apart from the release-based spikes in price, is the most expensive card of all of the reprints in the deck. But tell me, what does it do to help our game plan? There are no synergies to it, really, and these big splashy artifacts make good fun includes in some lists, but I don't want to see it in mine. Free spells are always broken, as I'm fond of saying, but this one gets the cut. With that 10-card upgrade in mind, we filled in some of our utility gaps and made our combo more consistent. The deck should run even better and help make more synergistic value all game long. You'll likely never be lacking to do the thing. But if I were to juice up the deck to add a little bit more money into it, well, we can make all of our combos even more consistent and drive even more value with All Will Be One. We have red, let's use it. This is a way to turn big swaths of -1/-1 counters into damage we can point wherever we want. Remember, All Will Be One doesn't care what kind of counters we're putting on stuff. This can turn some of our creatures, like Channeler Initiate, into a bonus Lightning Bolt, and we just get better all game long. Crumbling Ashes can create us cascades of removal, blowing up an opponent's creature each turn, since you'll always have something with a -1/-1 counter on it in play. Just be careful. If your opponents don't have anything with a counter on it in play and you do, you have to target your own stuff. This is not a May effect. Lastly, Maha Its Feathers Knight turns this deck into a lock deck. By shrinking all opponents' creatures to just 1 toughness, you get to kill anything you look at and almost guarantee they won't be able to stick a creature on the battlefield. This will lose you friends quickly though. It ups the power level considerably, so use this knowledge with caution. To make room for these 3 cards, I'd cut Wickersmith's Tools, Eventide's Shadow, and Tree of Perdition. While they have their uses, those uses get worse and worse as you push the deck's power level higher and higher. With this, I'm definitely looking to add Blight Curse to my Precon collection, and I want to know if you feel the same way. Have you had a chance to play the deck yet? Are you planning on upgrading it? Let me know in the comments how hyped you are to dig into this brew. And don't leave without checking out my sponsors like Card Conduit. They are hands down the easiest way to sell your individual Magic cards without the hassle of traditional buy listing. They'll get you top dollar while handling all of the heavy lifting, from sorting to grading to optimizing your price across a huge network of vendors. And they'll give you cold hard cash for it. You can use the promo code MECHANIC right now for 10% off of all fees. And if you want to pick up the cards for this list, make sure to go check out Card Trader. Use my promo code MECHANIC right now for 5% off your order from any TCG. Card Trader's zero system means you can get cards from all over the world with only 1 shipping fee. Save money and time today. Lastly, you can check out all of my decks on MOXFIELD. MOXFIELD is the best deck building platform in the world and makes it easy to build decks and search for specific cards with their powerful tools. Have you checked out their drag and drop feature yet? It's revolutionary. Be sure to check out my brews and follow my profile there right now. If you were inspired to brew today, you have to hit that subscribe button. Check out this other deck on my channel right now for more sweet tech. And as always folks, good luck and have fun.